Hi, nice to meet you.
Hi, it's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Behind the smile of nearly every job seeker is a jumble of questions. Who do I contact? How do I look? What do I say? You may be confident in your abilities, but if you can't get in front of and impress the right people, your dream job will go to someone else. In a few minutes, you'll see these people address those issues as they prepare to go for their dream jobs. Along the way, you'll pick up a few ideas you can use the next time you're looking to make a good impression. The first step to landing your dream job is deciding what it is.
My dream job would be to work at a large newspaper chain.
I really would like to be ambassador one day.
I want to be a lawyer.
I really want to be a masseuse, go into massage therapy.
I want to produce shows like news, something for a network.
My dream job is to own a restaurant, own a successful restaurant.
I'd love to be an architect.
It's always been my dream to become a recording engineer.
My dream is to become a doctor, but my immediate plan is to become an emergency medical technician.
Work my way up the ladder in corporate America and eventually be the CEO and command people.
The biggest problem with these great jobs is that other people want them too.
When you are applying for a job, you are one of many. It's extremely competitive, and so you need to have the best tools at hand so that you can present and market your skills.
It's a very competitive job market, and what that means is only one thing, that individuals have to become much more persistent and much more skillful in the hunt. They have to become experts at marketing themselves.
An attention-getting resume is the centerpiece of that marketing effort.
The resume is going to be the first impression that a prospective employer gets of you.
Resumes are important because the potential employer has to have some information about you.
Specifically, employers want to know if you have the skills they're looking for. There are three basic types of resumes: chronological, functional, and combination. The chronological approach lists all jobs and schooling in order of most recent first. Functional resumes stress skills over jobs. The combination resume borrows from both formats. Regardless of which type you choose, highlight essential information so that education, employers, job titles, and dates of employment can be read in a single glance. A great resume grabs the reader's attention and shows how your skills can meet the employer's needs.
Adding things to the resume that the employer wants to hear or needs to know about, giving him information that would influence his thought about you prior to even seeing you.
Use as many examples as possible to demonstrate your ability to do a particular function or responsibility. Community service is just as important of a section heading as work experience in some cases, because a lot of students, young students who don't have a lot of paid employment experience, have tons of volunteer experience.
It's important to point out that you play sports, because if you could play a sport and maintain high grades, then that shows that you can manage your time pretty well.
But even the best resume won't be able to get you an interview without a compelling cover letter that sells your skills.
The cover letter needs to be developed to tell the reader right off why you're applying for the job, how you think that you qualify for the job, and ask them for an opportunity to come in for an interview.
Be as concise as possible with the information that you're giving and try to have it relate directly to your resume so that you can say, my resume demonstrates that I'm well qualified for this position because, and maybe even have a list of those kinds of things in a bullet format.
A resume and cover letter should attract attention and get you noticed for the right reasons.
Typos, grammatical errors, and any type of mistake can really affect whether or not a resume is given a second glance.
Those things stand out. They almost stand up like a red flag waving that is something wrong.
If you're not careful enough to submit a resume of utmost quality, then I think that that gives some kind of indication of your carelessness on the job or whether or not you would be detail-oriented.
Many people rely on computer software to correct spelling or grammatical mistakes, but that's not always reliable.
There are lots of words that sound alike. They mean different things, like CNC and 2 and 2. So don't count on the spell check.
When you write something, you're not always able to catch your own errors, so it's best to have somebody else read it.
We try to encourage having as many objective people in your life, your family members, your friends, people in the career centers at your colleges, or any other professionals that you can get your hands on. Take a look at your resume so that you can have as many set of eyes look, so you can guarantee that you don't have any typos.
Resumes and cover letters represent your first chance to make a good impression. The 4 key points to remember are: 1, they need to grab the reader's attention. 2, they must highlight your education, skills, experience, and interests that match the needs of the job. 3, they must be as short as possible. And 4, they must be free of any errors. Once your resume and cover letter are ready to go, it's time to get them in front of the right people.
Jobs are not necessarily being advertised through the traditional methods that people would assume, like the newspaper. You have to tap into different avenues, like online job listing services, job boards at college career centers, things like that.
You want to use employment agencies, Department of Labor. You want to network, which means word of mouth. Let people know that you're looking for a job, what type of position that you're looking for.
Friday, 8 o'clock. Thank you very much. I'll see you then.
Once you've done all that and gotten to the right people, you should get a call for an interview. It's time to prepare.
The biggest mistake that people make in interviews is they don't prepare sufficiently.
I don't want to go in there blind and not know anything about the company.
I go on the internet, check out what's going on locally in the newspapers. I gotta make sure it's something I want to do in a company I want to work for.
You have to know what you're getting into.
I think first important thing is you will know the company if it is one you like or not. And the second is if you know more about it, you will feel more confident.
Doing research on your prospective employers is a critical part of the job interview process. The key point to remember is to use every resource available, including the internet, to learn about the company and the industry. The more research you do, the better off you'll be in the interview. One of the best ways to feel confident on the day of the interview is to get a good night's sleep and dress as well as you possibly can.
The first thing they see is you. They don't hear your voice or they don't hear how you speak or anything. The first thing they see is how you dress. So if you dress well, then they already have a good mental image of you.
One of the most common misconceptions is that if they know that the employer allows for casual dress, then they'll say, oh, well, I can just dress in the way that their other employees dress. And that's maybe a little bit skewed because you should always try to dress better than the rest of the employees.
When you walk in, you want the interviewer to think this person is serious about this particular opportunity. You want to go neat and you want to go clean. You don't want to wear inappropriate makeup. You don't want to wear inappropriate jewelry. You don't want to wear inappropriate perfume or cologne because it may be offensive to someone.
Attire tells about a person, and if you go in there looking razzy, they're like, where does this person think they're going? So you dress appropriately because that's a part of the initial impression they get.
It's an old cliche, but first impressions are everything.
The most important things to remember about making a good first impression are: 1, choose the right clothes for the interview. 2, make sure they are neat and clean. 3, conservative colors such as black, navy blue, or charcoal gray look more professional. And 4, shiny fabrics and bright colors will distract the interviewer from what you are saying.
How you doing? I'm Jonathan Hill.
Pleased to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Have a seat.
Thank you.
While a great resume and cover letter will get you in the door, it's the interview that will get you the job. To sharpen their presentation skills, these candidates are participating in mock interviews.
It's to give them a feel of what they're going to experience when they actually go to an actual interview. It's a forum where they can exercise trying to relax and experiencing the process.
And I'm going to college now. For me, the toughest part of the interview is wondering if I'm saying the right things, if I'm going to actually get it. It's always wondering if I'm good enough.
I think I can help a company grow from my experience and work. I get nervous about the whole thing. I don't speak loudly, so I try to make myself be clear.
You have to show them confidence.
The challenge to make a good impression begins immediately.
Some assumptions going to be made about you from the minute you walk in, from the handshake on.
A strong and firm handshake is one of the best ways that you can make a positive first impression. Maintaining eye contact as much as you can and being an attentive listener is also very important.
Contact shows that you can respect the person and that you're talking straight to them, that you're not wandering, that you're really dedicated. That's what eye contact shows.
You want to let them know that you know how to interview, you know how to sell yourself, and you realize that you're competing.
What is something about you that is going to set you apart?
Each interviewer has his or her own style, but there are certain questions that almost all will ask.
What would you be able to contribute to our company, and why should we hire you? They need to be able to answer, what are your career goals? Why did you select this field? What can you contribute to my company? Why should we hire you? When will you be able to come to work?
What are your strengths?
Tell me about some of your weaknesses.
I'd like to know what you think is your greatest strength.
You also get typical questions like, can you tell me what you feel your strengths or your weaknesses are?
Do you have any weaknesses?
I can be a little shy at times.
Kendra was very honest when I asked her if she had any weaknesses. She said that she was shy, and that was good, that she was candid about being shy, but she didn't appear to be shy, not at all.
I developed x-rays, and I use the therapy machine, the ultrasound.
Demonstrate that you understand that this has been a weakness for you in the past, but that you've made an attempt or took measures to try to improve that aspect of your character or your professional personality.
The questions you're most likely to be asked in a job interview are, describe your ideal job or boss. Why are you looking for a job? What unique qualifications do you have that other applicants may not have? Tell me about yourself. And what are your strengths and weaknesses? For open-ended questions like the last two, it's good to have something prepared, such as a 1-minute summary of who you are, your goals, and your best points. Some people refer to it as an elevator speech, because it should only be as long as a typical elevator ride.
What specific audience are you trying to get to?
Is there a training program?
What are your duties for that?
Job seekers should also be prepared to ask some questions.
Asking questions tells them that you want to know more. If you weren't that interested in the job, you wouldn't ask questions.
You can ask things about what issues or concerns the employer or the company is facing at this time, what their projections are for the next 10 years.
What is going to be the most challenging thing about this position?
Ask questions that have to do with the institution and that should demonstrate to the interviewer that they have interest in the institution, interest in the job, interest in understanding what the challenges are in this position and how they might fit.
Besides inspiring women to reach their fullest goal, what is the other mission that this new magazine hopes to accomplish? I let them know that I did research, and sometimes before they can ask me about different things about the company, I'll put it in the phrase of a statement and let them know that I've taken time to research about their company.
That's a very good question. It impresses the interviewer if you can throw out some facts about the corporation. It lets them know that you really want the job, you put forth additional effort.
It's important to ask questions about the company because you don't know what you're going into as an employee. You want to know what your responsibilities will be and what your employer is looking for.
You are also interviewing the person who's interviewing you. The job might look good to you, but once you talk to the person, you may decide in your head, I really don't want this job.
If you do want the job, there's one question you need to ask, but at the last possible moment.
The question about pay should not be asked unless somebody has offered to hire you and has given you no indication of what the salary package or the employment package is. Then, of course, it's reasonable to say, I'd love to consider this offer, but I need a few facts first, and salary, of course, is one of those.
You should ask about pay when you're actually offered the job, and then from there you can negotiate it if it's negotiable or accept or reject it.
Typically, we encourage job seekers or people in an interview to speak in terms of ranges. It's always better to bring up a $5,000 or $10,000 range so that it gives you a little bit of a cushion and some room to negotiate. You can do a lot of research on salaries through the Department of Labor websites. There's a lot of websites that give you information on salaries for particular job and position titles.
In addition to asking the salary question at the wrong time, there are other pitfalls to avoid.
When you're applying for a job or interviewing for a job, don't bring your friends with you. Go alone. I gave a referral to a young lady. I sent her to the interview. She decided to bring her friend. So they interviewed both students, and her friend got the job.
If you smoke, you should not be smoking that day.
You can really set a bad tone if you come in and you reek of smoke, and even if you think, oh, I just had a cigarette in my car, the smoke is all around you and you can come in and really kind of have a bad first impression.
You definitely do not want to lie. Lying is a big no-no. Because if you lie, it constitutes fraud. If you lie on your application, it's a fraud. So if there's a question on the application that you don't want to respond to, you can write "will discuss."
Hard work and dedication.
Get things done.
Tons of experience.
I always try to put.
One of the best ways to make a good impression is to make it clear why this employer should invest its time and money in you.
It's an investment, so they would like to make a good investment. Remember that you would like something for them. You would like the salary, but they want something from you. They want your skills. They want a hard worker. They want someone who's going to show up on a regular basis, on time.
Tell me what I should pay you for. What should you get paid for? They're not thinking about that. They're oftentimes thinking, I want a job where I can have this, that, and the other. And I'm always saying to them, you have to get out of that egotistical mindset and try to understand that somebody is paying you to do a service or for your value. And you have to make it very clear what your value is to the organization.
Very nice meeting you, Jonathan.
Nice meeting you too, Ms. Long.
After the interview, it's always important to shake the person's hand, look them directly in the eye, and thank them for their time.
Have a nice day.
You too.
And how did our job seekers do on their interviews? Overall, most got high marks.
Felix did a great job.
Valerie is self-assured.
Jamar made excellent eye contact.
Jonathan presented very well.
Vicky smiled a lot, and that's really important.
Daniel gave a very strong interview.
Nancy did an amazing job.
Maria presented very well.
He comes across as very sincere.
She had a lot of good anecdotes.
She's very confident.
He was very professional.
But as always, there was room for improvement.
His rate of speech is a little bit quick.
He wasn't sure of himself.
She was really nervous.
She needs to slow down a little bit.
He spoke too softly.
The skirt was much too short.
He's not that comfortable.
He definitely was not appropriately dressed.
I would want to see him have much more opportunity to practice.
The major points to remember about interviews are: 1. The best way to prepare for a job interview is to practice with mock interviews. 2. Allow plenty of time so you can arrive a few minutes early. 3. Demonstrate right from the start that you are the right person for the job by introducing yourself with a friendly greeting and a firm handshake. 4. Maintain eye contact throughout the interview. 5. Answer all questions honestly and clearly. 6. Have some relevant questions of your own ready to ask. 7. Use the interview to demonstrate how you will be a valuable employee. And 8. At the end of the interview, shake hands and thank the interviewer. Once the interview is over, there's one more opportunity to make a good impression.
It's important to follow up within 24 hours with some form of a thank you.
The best bet is as soon as you get home, type it up. You have everything fresh on your mind on what went on in the interview.
Email thank yous are becoming more and more popular, but we also feel that, your traditional method by either writing a thank you card handwritten in a little bit more of a casual setting, that's fine. If you're dealing with an old school kind of corporate environment, it's nice to write a business letter format, thank you letter on the computer, and mail that.
And then you should do follow-up, because every contact that you make with them lets them know that you're still interested.
By and large, the people that follow up will get hired a lot faster.
The people who get hired also write attention-grabbing resumes and cover letters. They use every available resource and connection to look for jobs and create opportunities. They take the time to find out everything they can about potential employers. Successful job seekers also know how to dress for success. They practice their interviewing skills because they know you can never be too prepared for an interview. They know what to say, what to ask, and what to do when the interview is over. They realize it's all part of the job of getting a job. They know the job doesn't always go to the most qualified. It goes to the person who makes the best impression.
Nice to meet you.